So, I was recently invited to join Lola Valentine over on the Winx Forever podcast. For that episode, we went over the Nightmare episode of Season 1. And oh my god, it was such a blast. Thank you for having me, Lola. It was a wonderful time. If any of you are interested, I highly recommend you check it out through the links below or on Spotify. But covering that episode made me not only appreciate the 4Kids dub being better than it has any right to be, but also appreciate the darkness of its storyline with the Nightmare monster, especially as an adult with just how personal it got. It's such an interesting way to analyze the fears and minds of the characters through magic, and I want to talk about it for an obnoxious amount of time. So yeah. Depending on the dub that you're watching, the opening scene changes. In the Cinelume dub, we begin at Cloud Tower, with the trick summoning the Nightmare monster, or Nightmare Gargoyle in the 4Kids dub, and falling to the floor from exhaustion. It's clear that this beast is more powerful, more demanding than anything the tricks have conjured before. And then we see it.
Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. No thing.
This little red-eyed imp bastard crawling about the dorm, phasing through the floors and climbing all over the walls like we're in the goddamn Exorcist, before it leaps out the window several thousands of feet to torment our favorite fairies. 4Kids moved this scene to the end of episode 15 to make it a cliffhanger for 16, and likely to make 16 meet the shorter runtime. It is a change that I do not mind, especially since it makes sense for an original week-to-week watching, and it spices up episode 15 with a little teaser for the next battle. Whether you prefer it there or as the cold open is up to you, but honestly, I prefer the latter, especially if you're going to watch this episode in isolation. We then cut to Althea at nightfall, where the Winx are strolling about the courtyard towards their dorm. In the original, they are talking about parent-teacher conferences?
The parent-teacher meetings are coming up soon. Time flies, doesn't it? It'll be nice to see my parents together again.
Never mind the fact that those never happen and we never see any of their parents. It's honestly a good call to axe this if nothing is going to come from it. All it was really needed for was making Stella and Musa think about their parents, but honestly, that's not absolutely necessary, and 4Kids manages to do that anyway with their changes. In the 4Kids dub, as a matter of fact, they're returning from a scary movie in Magic City, which not only establishes that these girls have lives indeed outside of the plot, but also allows them to show off their group dynamic in a fun, relatable way, as well as set the tone for what we're in store for. Something far more frightening than any scary movie. Though now I'm imagining the Winx watching the literal scary movie parodies. $10 Stella would push a piano down the stairs at the killer. But since the movie is about a family, we still get a comment from Musa talking about how movies like that make her miss her mom like crazy.
And yet my parents are still separated. Movies about parents always bum me out. I mean, they make me miss my mom like crazy.
So we integrate in everything. Woo! Also love Bloom being like, I swear to God, it was Kiko who scarfed down all the candy, don't judge me.
Sure, Bloom, it was Kiko who scarfed down all the candy.
It was!
Night, darlings.
Once they return to their dorm, Stella is the monster's first target. It crawls towards her, and as the 4Kids dub explains, draws out her deepest fears. At the peak of the terror caused by the nightmare, the monster drains some of the target's magic, which is a far better explanation for what's happening than the original. We'll talk about the nightmare's specifics later, but suffice to say, Stella's got problems, y'all, and she needs both hugs and therapy. Stella screams, waking up the rest of the girls and prompting the monsters to hide. Monsters? Plural. What? Past me, what's happening in this script? Anyway, the monster runs into the shadows. Il nemico nell'ombra, indeed. Though Bloom and Flora try to comfort her, Tecna asserts that she was right to be suspicious, as she heard something rustling before they even got into their dorm, showing that she is the most alert of the bunch. Musa, however, dismisses it as just an ordinary nightmare and heads back to bed, inadvertently challenging the Nightmare Gargoyle, and prompting it to make her its next target. After re-traumatizing the Fairy of Music and leaving her dramatically strewn about her piano bed, Tecna is the next target, and she was right to be worried. It's when the girls wake up after this bout of nightmares that they realize something serious is afoot. Flora senses a disturbance in the Force because she's secretly a Jedi Master, and she makes contact with Murda, who, in pumpkin form, witnessed the Nightmare Gargoyle's attack and explains its plan. At least she does in the 4Kids dub, showing that she's quite the expert in terrifying creatures of the night.
Icy must have sent it. What they do is they stir up your energy by giving you nightmares, and then, at your most terrified moment, they drain some of your power.
In the original, she's just glad that Bloom hasn't been targeted yet. But not Flora.
That creature hasn't been able to get to you yet, Bloom. I saw it creep around in here, and then, at the first light of dawn, it just took off. We have to get ready for when it comes back tonight.
Cue Flora pretending the call is cutting out as she banishes Murda back into her pumpkin prison before blending her into a pumpkin spice latte. Morbid? Yes, but that's who I am, and y'all know this, and we all know Flora is capable of it. The next day, the girls discuss what in the fuckery is happening. And it's quite different between versions. For whatever reason, the Winx don't connect the monster to the tricks, which... what? The three witches who've had it out for y'all since your first day of school, and you don't think it's them beyond a vague Cloud Tower connection?
I have a feeling that there's a Cloud Tower connection here. It's as if the creature is somehow capable of drawing out our deepest fears.
Sure. Now, Bloom would rather connect this to her birth parents, which, girl, this is a non sequitur.
All this makes me think about my birth parents.
Not everything is about you, as 4Kids Stella insists, even though Bloom's concerned the tricks are after her. Yeah, it's actually reasonable here. It's legit. The 4Kids dialogue feels more natural and lets the girls be more proactive in their plan to confront the monster.
I almost feel like maybe those witches know more about who I am than I do.
The Cinelume dialogue, by stark contrast, feels expository and stiff, especially Bloom's explanation of Flora trying to break Icy's spell on Murda, as if the Winx weren't aware of this, despite having partaken in that last episode. I really love Bloom's note of how Flora saying she hates the witches is a big deal, since Flora has never used the word hate before.
She actually said, I hate those witches.
So?
I just don't think I've ever heard Flora use the word hate before.
It is small details like that which make these girls feel like real people who truly understand each other. The one bit from the Cinelume dub, though, I miss is Stella talking about how her parents tend to neglect her, raising her like a perfect stranger.
I know who they are, but they don't care much about me. King and Queen of Celeria, but Princess Stella brought up like a perfect stranger.
It fits with what she experienced in her nightmare, and I am sad to see it cut from the 4Kids dub. I do get why, but still.
If you're referring to Brandon, you should know he's just a friend, whom I haven't caught a glimpse of in a long, long time.
It takes everything in me not to call you.
We then cut to Cloud Tower, where the Tricks cackle at their plan to destroy the Winx. Not the Tricks. In my script, I wrote the Tricks trying to destroy the Tricks. They're trying to destroy themselves. I knew it all along. This is why they became so stupid. It's self-sabotage.
They keep defeating us.
You said it, sister.
All the while, the Nightmare Gargoyle, fully grown, sits beside them, likely waiting for a treat in return for all the juicy details of the Winx's innermost psyches. The Nightmare Gargoyle is a messy bitch indeed. Later that night, the Winx pretend to go to sleep without bothering to put on their pajamas. Not very convincing. 4 out of 10. Anyhow, Kiko, prompted by Murda's glow, alerts the Winx to the monster's arrival. We love everyone getting to be useful, animal mascots included. The gargoyle targets Flora, likely planning on Bloom being its last victim. But right before it can strike, Flora pulls a Sailor J move of I think the fuck not, you trick-ass hoe. Or I guess tricks-ass hoe here. Trying to strangle the monster with all the vines she conveniently keeps in her room. Decorative and perfect for security. Flora is inspirational in home security measures and aesthetics. Who needs a ring when you have vines? The monster escapes, however, and as 4Kids notes, is made even stronger by Flora using her magic on it. While the other Winx battle the beast in the hall, weirdly not alerting anyone asleep in the school, or even the omnipresent Griselda, Flora is told of the monster's true goal by Murda, to weaken the other Winx to make Bloom an easy target. To which Flora goes, yes, I know that. I have to go help my exhausted friends now. The The Winx find themselves struggling against the monster, still tired out from their nightmares, and their magic even further drained. Bloom even gets flashes of her fears as she shields herself against the attacks of the monster. Musa and Tecna are taken out, and the Tricks take the opportunity to make things even worse as they incapacitate Stella and Flora, making Bloom easy pickings. The 4Kids dub actually has the Tricks mention that they're after Bloom's power, and Darcy teases Bloom about how she doesn't even know why they're targeting her, which I appreciate. But then Faragonda, in her iconic first stolen nightgown, arrives to slay the Nightmare Gargoyle and banish the Tricks for interrupting her bedtime self-care routine. I mean, invading her school and endangering her students.
I've had it with you 3 witches. You've invaded Althea for the last time. Ha!
Yes. Anyhow, the Tricks peace out, only to be told off by Griffin and expelled from Cloud Tower, because if you're gonna wreak havoc, do not get caught, idiots.
Idiots! Imbeciles!
Their makeup running in the rain and sent away from their abode, the Tricks vow vengeance on the Winx and anyone else who has crossed them. The Nightmare Gargoyle is a monster which feeds upon nightmares. Obviously. Like the 4Kids dub posits, it uses your fears to draw out your power before stealing it, making it the most insidious kind of parasite. I especially like the 4Kids mentioning of Faragonda's experience with other Nightmare Gargoyles, and how they even bested an entire Althea senior class. Likely would be Enchantix fairies if we're going by Season 3 rules. It makes the fact that the Winx could even put up a fight against it at all the more impressive, and makes me very scared to think that there's even more of these things lurking somewhere, please no. The reason it works so well is because of the fact it allows insight into the character's fears and psyches. Dreams are often a way for our subconscious mind to manifest things that we refuse to deal with in our waking lives, which makes nightmares the manifestations of whatever is currently upsetting or bothering us, even if we're not fully conscious of it. There's a reason why dream interpretations can feel so scarily spot on. Your mind is trying to tell you something is wrong, and get that shit in check. The monster's visuals are likewise impressive. It isn't quite Silent Hill level scary, nor should it be, given we don't want to scare the children too badly, I think. I don't know. I mean, we're not in the 80s anymore, so. But the different forms it assumes as it moves between targets and grows in strength are just such nightmare fuel. The imp is creepy, but that alligator spider thing? Oh my god, who the hell designed that? Because firstly, thank you, and second, fuck you. And seeing how it moves really sells it as a creature from the world of dreams. It's otherworldly, ephemeral as it phases through objects and attacks. Difficult to pin down, but perfectly able to attack you. It's almost like it operates on multiple planes of existence, switching between them as it needs. The Nightmare Gargoyle is the perfect vehicle to explore what troubles our characters, especially at this point in the season, before shit really hits the fan. Speaking of which, in Stella's nightmare, she sees her parents, King Radius and Queen Luna. Or rather, former queen, given they're divorced. They quickly disappear, shooting off in different directions, and Stella calls out for them to come back. She then finds herself presented with a mirror, posing and seemingly having fun, before the mirror is covered with a mysterious dark sludge. The mirror then consumes her in this darkness, splitting her in two. While the original has no dialogue, 4Kids adds lines of Radius and Luna explaining their divorce to Stella, and Stella's inner monologue chides her on how, on the inside, she's a loser that nobody likes, despite her exterior presentation as a social butterfly of perpetual joy. Winx Decoded broke down Stella's moon powers in a fantastic video you should go watch, where he explains that Stella actually does use lunar spells more than we realize. They're actually represented by mirrors, given the moon itself mirrors the light of the sun. Her Charmix being mirror-shaped, her shining mirror spell, things like this are her lunar side showing off. I always assumed that she relied more on her sun magic, given she always has seemed closer to her father than her mother. But there's a deeper layer here. The moon represents femininity, the deeper self, and one's own darkness. and given Celeria's sunny disposition, I don't think exploring one's moon side would be exactly encouraged. Meaning that even though Stella is the fairy of the sun and moon, her moon side has likely been neglected, shown by this nightmare hinging on the dark mirror. Stella has been shown to have been a bit of a geeky child, and according to World of Winx, a social outcast and target of bullying. Despite her cheeriness and popular girl mannerisms, why else would she vibe with the Winx, a group of misfits? It's among the misfits that she thrives and can be her loud, boisterous, chaotic, sassy self. The mirror, however, exploits her fear of being unlovable, with everyone secretly resenting her. If you couldn't tell Stella was a Leo sun before, here you go. Also willing to bet that she's a Leo rising and a Cancer moon, because Cancer is represented by the moon. Mirrors can make for great symbols of self-reflection and introspection, looking at this image of yourself for all your flaws, along with an almost imperceptible darkness. If we want to take it a step further, it could also have to do with body issues. Some folks in my comments have mentioned potential struggles in Stella's relationships with food, given her binges in the first few seasons. And after reading Jeanette McCurdy's new book, it really opened my eyes on just how deeply psychological those kinds of things can be. Oh God, I love that book, but it was a journey. It was a journey. I wouldn't be surprised if it were a struggle for Stella. The mirror also reminds me quite a bit of its use in Silent Hill 3 with Heather, dealing with her struggle with identity, not only as a teenage girl, but also the reincarnation of a young girl who's been through unimaginable trauma. Stella being split in two by the mirror likely represents her own relationship with herself, being torn between her parents following their divorce, and torn between the opposing sides of herself, sun and moon. There are darker parts of Stella that drive her desire to be loved, her desire to bring smiles to people's faces, and to be a spotlight. Yes, I just made a Winx in concert reference, fight me. Musa's nightmare is presumably on her homeworld of Melody, an East Asian-inspired planet driven by the mystical power of music. The entire city is abandoned and seemingly in disrepair, with Musa running through the streets. She sees her mother, who sits alone, looking weary. Musa runs to her, but before she can reach her, she disappears. In pain, Musa cries out. But not for Riven, because oh my god. We're getting this out of the way. The fact she yells out for Riven in the original, both Italian and Cinelume, is ridiculous. Not everything needs to be about love interests, especially when Riven has been complete trash to her up until this point. The 4Kids version emphasizes that this is a world without music. Juanine, Musa's mother, asks to sing with her, only to realize that she can't hear any music, asking where it all went. After she disappears, Musa says that she can't hear any music either, and that's why she cries out.
Where did all the music go? I can't hear any music either. No!
Music is vital to Musa's identity. It's how she connects to her mother, how she relates to her world, and how she expresses herself. Without that, she has no means of connecting with others. Musa's mother died since, as musicians, her parents couldn't afford medicine for her illness. When she died, Musa's father, Oboe, snapped, breaking every instrument in the house in a violent and, for Musa, traumatizing outburst that scarred her forever. From then, Oboe swore off of music forever, as it kept paining him, reminding him of the woman that he lost. And likely a scapegoat he believes even caused her death. Musa's desire to pursue a musical career, along with being the fairy of music, puts her at odds with her father, which is devastating, given music is how she connects to her mother. It is a source of both passion and turmoil, connection and division. Well, more so connection, as she learns. I love that line of her saying, music doesn't divide people at all, it just brings people together.
After all that had happened to us, I thought music divided people. But today I realized that's not true at all.
Oh god, the episode about Musa and her family, it's so good. Just imagine a world where the one thing you've used to connect to others, how you derive meaning, was taken away. That is a world Musa deeply fears, and it's one I think a lot of people can relate to. Tecna's nightmare is set in a world of cold, hard data. Ones and zeros dot the dark sky. Laser grid buildings and roads stretch out into the infinite darkness all around, and a corrupted, blocky version of Timmy walks through, revealing that he has no eyes, but rather the illusion of eyes on his glasses. Tecna is then swept up in the numbers, enwrapped in the rigid structure of this soulless world, and unable to escape. Tecna's story in the first few seasons is one of emotion. Coming from Zenith, a planet where no one expresses their emotions and deals only in what is logical and rational, Tecna is quick to dismiss things which she deems as irrational, such as humor or love or play. That doesn't stop her from partaking in such things, however, or developing a crush on Timmy. She's human, after all. Or a fairy, I guess. As such, her story is largely about her learning to navigate and understand her own feelings, learning that there is so much more to life than what is rational. In fact, the best things in life themselves are often irrational. What is the point of logic if you're a miserable stick in the mud? This nightmare, however, reads less like it's a fear of her own emotions, but more losing her emotions. Oh, hi there, Crystal Labyrinth foreshadowing. How are you today? But even though rationality is Tecna's shield, it's interesting to see it's something she deep down fears taking over her. A cold cyber shell that threatens to remove every part of her that is sentimental and personal. I wonder if this is how Zenith often made her feel, made into a perfect rational being free of those pesky emotions and impractical senses. Side note, can we talk about the imagery here? Blocky Timmy is such a retro vibe, yet equally terrifying, and Tecna's horrified face as she's wrapped up in the numbers. This is fear. It is burned into my memory. Even though Bloom didn't get a nightmare like the others, we do get flashes of her insecurities, images of Mike, Vanessa, and Brandon, who, we're just gonna call him Sky for the sake of my sanity. Nick kids, I can't believe you did not experience this. What is that reality like? Bloom's struggles to learn about her powers are rooted in her desire to learn about herself. As grateful as she is to Mike and Vanessa for raising her, and as much as she does see them as her parents, she can't help but wonder how she wound up in that fire as a baby. And the 4Kids dub even raises the question of whether she's even from Earth, given Earth is known to be a world without magic. Follow this up with the tricks deceiving Bloom into thinking that she's a witch, and Bloom's in a goddamn identity crisis this season. And the fact that Sky just ditched her after episode 14, followed by the revelation of his true identity and engagement with Diospro, and it robs Bloom of one of the most crucial pillars of support she's relied upon through all of these hardships.
We found you, Bloom.
Found you in a fire. Who are you, Bloom?
Bloom, what are you doing? Fight back! Ugh!
Everything in Bloom's life has been a facade, a deception that robs her of the most basic sense of security. Who can you trust when you don't even know the fundamentals of your own identity? Honestly, Bloom's got way more problems going on as a protagonist than people give her credit for. She is a goddamn mess, experiencing trauma after trauma, and this girl needs hugs. And higher standards for romantic interests. Jesus Christ, I want to punch Sky. And unfortunately, Flora got robbed. As much as she does kick ass this episode, we don't get to see the depths of her character like the others. You could argue it's because she has her shit together as group mom, but still, I would have liked something for her. Even the group mom thing can lend itself to a lot of codependency issues. Then again, with the present material, what could you really give her? A dead garden? Actually, that could lend itself to a lot of symbolism. Actually, Flora is a very nurturing person who deeply cares for others. Her compassion is truly Pisces-worthy. So maybe her nightmare is rooted in that somehow. Maybe she's trapped in a world where she's unable to help others, particularly Murda, and she's stuck as a pumpkin forever. Maybe she's a bit of a people pleaser, having everyone walk all over her. On the Winx Forever podcast, I did take this as a chance to share an idea I had for my Season 6 rewrite, so I might as well share it here too. Also, given the fact it's taking like 5 centuries to make, why have I done this to myself? So, we don't really know much about Flora's family besides her saving Melee every 5 minutes. And it's a known fact that the Winx don't have the best relationships with their families, specifically their parents. As such, I thought, what would happen if Flora had tension with her parents? Specifically, her mother. Without spoiling too much, Alyssa is a very emotionally demanding person who is very passive-aggressive towards Flora, undercutting her, seeming to favor Melee, and wanting to control Flora, even being angered by her decision to attend Althea so far away from home. Flora only went home on the Day of the Rose out of a sense of obligation. Her father mostly goes along with it, and Melee just has never really been aware of what's going on. As such, there's a scene where Flora has a nightmare manifesting these feelings. She is a living flower in a massive garden, as are her father and sister. It's her mother's garden, and when she tries to leave, she's plucked. It's dark, but I would say it's also in line with the mirror of self-hatred, the world without music, and having your flesh become binary code, an NB's worst nightmare. The Nightmare episode is a masterclass in visual storytelling and character analysis. We learn so much about our characters through the introduction of the Nightmare Gargoyle, and I would love to see more stories do things like this, using fantastical beasts and scenarios to allow us spooky stories that are also deep dives into what makes our characters think. Even though Aisha was not present for the Nightmare Gargoyle, she does get a similar treatment next season with her own nightmares of her childhood, associated with her fear of Darkar given, well, he did imprison her in the Pixies and then threw her off a cliff to her near death, so there's that. Anyhow, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content like this from me, then be sure to subscribe and ring that bell for notifications because YouTube hates creators. If you would like to further support myself and the channel, you can pledge your support over on Patreon, give a one-time donation via the thanks button down below, and or check out my urban fantasy novel, Diseneribus from the Ashes, in the description below, and wherever books are sold, and even request it at your local library. And remember to check out the Winx Forever podcast episode. Thank you again, Lola, for having me. It was a real blast. I'm the Unicorn of War, and my vocal cords are gonna be a fucking shit show after this, recording this whole thing twice. Never mind my sleep schedule if the Nightmare Gargoyle finds me again. The first time I tried to record this, there was a weird static that sounded like I was in Silent Hill, which was fitting but annoying. And then it turned out my microphone needed a new cable. So here we are. Hopefully this time I can check to make sure there aren't any issues after recording for 40 minutes. Kill me.